Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Breakthrough. I am joined by my co-host, as per usual, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Mark.
How are you doing? Oh, that's okay. I remember. So just before we started, we were like,
I mean, you didn't have to admit it publicly. Folks, the man forgot his own background.
I couldn't remember. I was ready to picture the concert hall.
How busy are you? And
We've done one episode.
Wait. We just spoke about it before we started the show, and he's still thinking about last season's background. How busy are you this year in the Christmas season to be so...
Like I said last episode, I have a rehearsal every night.
Isn't that the life?
Yes, we were just talking about it.
Isn't that the life that you wanted to live?
Yes.
The life with little sleep and too much stress?
I am not complaining about what it entails, but there are just some consequences that you have to take with it.
Some consequences.
Okay, some are chosen, others were chosen for you, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Things being chosen for you. Stick a pin on that.
Stick a pin in that. One of these things might be very much, no, I chose this show. This has been very, very fun.
Folks, he makes it sound like, he took the lesser of two options. He made this show, right? All of the consequences are due to his actions, right? I'm just saying, I am responsible for 15%.
That is not true. That is absolutely not true. You dragged me in this media thing. You dragged me here.
Yeah, that's the 15%.
Wow.
That's all. Yeah. I accept no blame for your current struggles. None.
Anyway, moving swiftly along. We're gonna have a talk about this later. Anyway, moving swiftly along. You brought me from musician to media to table in front of a camera.
Yeah, just wait.
Anyway, speaking of media, we're gonna have a really good topic, which I think is very important. Having done the show so far and engaging the guests and wanting people on the show, it's been I've observed, been very interesting, and not everyone is always media ready. Right?
Yes.
And
You'll be surprised.
You have to interview those people.
They have some union leaders and leaders of important public entities that apparently no one thought, hey, maybe they should be media ready before we put them in front of a press conference.
Well, taking that into consideration in the artistic space, I mean, in some cases, the person, you are your brand. Right, so there is some level of...
And not every struggling musician or artist is going to know how to take an interview.
Exactly. So, on that note, given that that's the topic of our discussion, I want to introduce our next guest, who's also a creative radio host and future television fixture.
And the irony, of course, is she's one of the few people you cannot say was not media ready. But we'll have the conversation with her anyway.
Exactly. Please welcome to the Breakthrough table, Kemba Joseph. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. This is the irony of it all, right?
I know.
Really and truly, thank you for having me.
Of course.
As we talk things media and we talk things culture and how the two intersect, because they do.
Of course.
And you're 15% great on the 85. You're doing great, sweetie. And I guess this is going to be impactful for you and for anyone else out there, any other creative that is wanting to figure it out or maybe wanting to rebrand and get next steps. So
For sure. Now, you're not new to the WESN, way of
apparently
things.
not.
Way of things. You co-hosted Pan on the Avenue.
I did.
With
Gerald Forbes. That was an amazing experience. Being in front of a camera was one of the things that I actually did not want for myself in media. I was like,
because it used to radio.
It was radio.
Right.
That's where I got started. And I had said, camera, that's my face. That's the facial expressions. That's the posture. That's making sure that everything is right up. It's the makeup. It's the looking, presentable when I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. Okay, the bags under my eyes, they are Gucci.
Yeah. So, make sure that concealer is out.
Exactly. And so it was one of the things that I ran from the most. But on the other side of it, I grew up in the camera space as a performer.
Yeah.
Sean is like, wait, what? Yeah. All these stories.
Yeah, it's funny because I understand, but from a different perspective, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so just to kind of sum it up, growing up on stage, performing with, of course, Marinette's Chorale, the Bishop Anstey High School Choir for all of those years, I'm not unfamiliar with bright lights.
Right.
It's Queen's Hall, right? I'm not familiar with the makeup for the sake of performing. It's just with media and video and radio, it's a little bit different.
In all fairness, the performance it's prepared, it's well prepared because you have for performing so that's a space where it's like this is the repertoire, and if there's choreography, this is what I do, and we rehearse it.
But you know what's also really interesting now that it's just all happening in my mind. What happens in the middle of the performance when you forget your choreography?
Yeah.
And you came in at the wrong part.
Yeah.
And you forgot or you have, when it's that kind of choral arrangement, and you have and the page doesn't do what you need to do. What does that look like? So I'm thinking now that I'm really front and center in this screen space.
Right.
Maybe I've been preparing for this all my life and I didn't know.
That is a very good point.
I will say this, because I similarly had experience on a stage in the capacity of being in a choir. So, and I'm like, I've sung live in front of 600 to 1,000 people.
Right.
But at least it's different from person to person. But I would advise, because we have interns from the same program that I started but did not finish, I'm sorry, I did not waste gate funds, I was paying it out of pocket, that any sort of public engagement, it might not necessarily prepare you for all, but it will still help prepare you.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And it will still help give you something to fall back on, because I'm pretty sure 20-something-year-old me would have been completely paralyzed in front of a camera.
Right.
Whereas now, I got accustomed to, well, if the moment seems too big, just concentrate on the things you have to do. So on stage, it is what you're singing, your notes, your expression, where you're standing, your lights, all kinds of things, right? If you have to interact with other members or if you're by yourself, but there's still a lot of responsibility. It's not just, you just know the song and it just happens.
Exactly.
Right?
There's a lot of prep.
And TV is the same thing, or radio.
Absolutely.
But with TV, you've got, the visual dimension adds to everything.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But
like I've said, I'm still running out of clothes.
So,
the wardrobe.
Hold on. He brings it up publicly, so it's fair game. I am telling him it's not a big deal. He's like, it is to me. And then about a couple of weeks ago, he's like, I'm too tired to care. But all of a sudden, you got over the exhaustion.
Yeah, because I got some sleep.
It's on his mind. And that was a big shift for me as well. The wardrobe and showing up and being put together.
Here's the funny part. I've run into this problem now where, technically speaking, most of my wardrobe is kind of like the work wardrobe.
Right.
So whenever the rare times I go out to see anybody, I'm like, what do I wear? I don't have casual clothes
So you have the
anymore.
opposite problem.
Yeah.
Building.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's just stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the things that has helped me to not feel as anxious with, oh my God, I have to, and I mean, I'm a woman in the media space.
Yeah.
Y'all can throw on the same palette of colors every single time. No one is going to blink at you. But there's, I think, a lot of pressure with women, especially to look a certain way and to show up a certain way. I don't like it, and it causes a lot of anxiety, but stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Okay.
It means I will go to the mall, and if something is on sale, do I need it? No.
Right.
But would it help? It might. So I should get it just in case. And it's on sale now. And then that way, if I get called to come on at,
I have something.
11 a.m., I can just...
It seems very, trivial. It seems very surface level. But these are things that you kind of need to keep in mind.
But that goes beyond just media. One could argue, any sort of professional environment. It's like, why are you working with a wardrobe that is literally, I work 5 days a week and I have 5 work outfits outfits a week.
Yeah.
And if someone spills coffee on me, I'm in trouble if it ruins my shirt. Like, why are you doing that to yourself?
Yeah.
If you see stuff on sale, buy a little bit extra.
Just one. And sometimes it's one piece once a month or one piece every other month, right? And that is one of, I guess, the kickoff, the first tip I could, from my own experience, for anyone wanting to be media ready. The creative space is one where folks, you guys really are your brand. We are our brand. And the quirk of it, I was chatting, of course, letting you guys know this morning, what colors do I want to wear? I don't want to wear black. I mean, I feel like, okay, I could have put on a little blazer and, join the crew. But what is my style? What is the message I want to send? And those are things, absolutely.
Like, okay, for media training, now here's something to consider. If you matched us with a blazer or a jacket or anything that resembled what we were wearing, would that necessarily be good for your brand, right?
I don't want to say I don't know.
Because being the guest, now you stand out and apart from us, which is technically what we as hosts want you to do. We don't want to stand out and look better than you. We want you to stand out and look better than us.
And I did it.
Yes.
And mission accomplished.
and that's like a side grade to like a side tip. It's like butter up your guests, you know?
Mission accomplished, yeah. Okay. And it's those little things constantly that I think we take for granted, right? For sure. Being thrusted into the space of creativity and now of media. But that's my story.
Well, there's a part of it that we didn't necessarily get to, and I find it interesting because I myself, I think 10 years or more ago, I had an aunt say, well, why you don't get into radio? And I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Why not?
And well, you see, at the time, I literally couldn't, right? Like, it was not, I'm fairly certain it was not within my skill set, right?
At the time,
So, and then we kind of bypass radio and come on television. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because you had a similar situation, and I want to start off with that there. Because what do we stick a pin into? You know, sometimes these things just find you, and your opportunities, I wouldn't necessarily say found you, but I think you and we did have to like start the process, and then opportunities here found me, and opportunities
the very next step
found you.
It's opened up, and that was my intention. When I chose to explore the possibility of media and really radio, really and truly radio, I had no idea that I would fall in love with it so much. That's one. And the media space just feels right. You know, I'm very careful to not do the things that don't feel right or don't fit. And media just happened to be one of them. Radio happened to be one of them. So the opportunities, getting media ready also means saying yes to opportunities, right? Because I could have been, when I got the call to do Pan on the Owl, for example, I'd come like, oh my God, no. I don't think I'm ready. But I said, you know what?
Why not?
Why not? And then before that, some of the other projects I would have been involved in, I think all of those things got me media ready, and I didn't even realize because...
You're talking like speaking engagements and stuff like that?
Speaking engagements. The coolest thing I think that I've done, I did so many cool things. One of the coolest things I've done this year was Culture Shock. That was a baby project with a friend of mine in the radio space. We both work at the same radio station, and she's like, what if we did this? Because you really love Carnival. Yes, I do.
She does.
I do. And she doesn't know much or didn't know much about it. And she's like, what if we did a thing and we call it, you know, we shock people with the culture that we have? And I was like, I'm in. And, you know, it was very capsule-oriented, nice short clips around the carnival scene. But again, there's this thing in your face moving around with you.
Watching your every move.
Makeup has to be on point. I have to learn to do it. Ladies, and this is a true thing, ladies, when you are getting media ready, learn to do the makeup yourself. It's going to save money, and it's going to save time, and it's not as hard as you think it might be. If I could do it, anybody could do it, because I ran away from it as well for a long time.
Because there's certain levels of it that you can, okay, I'm going on television, let me just do it myself, and then there's stage makeup as in performance.
Exactly,
which is a little bit different.
So if you can do one, then you can learn to do the other, whether you tone it up or tone it down.
Right.
But that's another piece of being media ready. And even for the guys too, you know, sometimes you need a little pat, a little pat of powder.
He saw my preparation this morning. Yes, Mark has a process. right?
I'm not trying to look, you put me on this TV screen, I'm not trying to look like greasy and or ashy or both.
You see, I am a current events show host, right? So like to some extent, it's all natural, right?
That there's an element of being physically media ready.
Right,
I think that we
But
don't
you're right.
realize takes time
Right.
and a little oomph of effort to be able to get into that space.
Like men can get away, because I think I slightly get away with things that women cannot get away with.
No.
Now,
For a woman, it's harder.
You spoke about certain things, how to get physically ready and stuff like that. But what are some of these skills? Because you grew up in the artistic space.
I have.
Right? From in the womb, right?
It's true.
Literally.
It's true.
And you spoke about certain things preparing you, but as much as you love Carnival, being around the artistic space, that also informed you because you have certain knowledge of certain things, certain opinions on certain things, and that sort of helps your job as well, right? So what are some of the more intellectual skills, what are some of the more social skills that some artists kind of need? Because if people know, most artists, we're very much let me just do my work in a corner.
Yes.
And here, you'll have fun with it.
Exactly.
That's all we want. But when you are your brand and you want to promote yourselves, especially those artists who are entrepreneurs and innovators and directors, they kind of are the face of it.
Yeah.
So what are some of those skills that they kind of need to have?
That I think is so cool because it's this ever-evolving media space. Once upon a time, it worked. Here's my art. Do what you will with it.
Right.
Now there is this requirement, especially in the dawn of the life of social media, that too is media. So I'll say the skills, the intellect, or the other side of it. Firstly, decide for yourself who you want to be in this space. I think that some people in their creative success are better off not being there. Not because they can't, but it's just their brand, it's their identity. So that may now be something you want to hire someone to do all of those things, right? You have to look at the pocket because now can you really hire someone, right? In this, creative space, it's not always financially profitable, right? But it's still something to think about. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, the pocket can't do that. So maybe what I need to do is figure it out and learn myself. I would recommend...
While still also being authentic.
Absolutely, because no artist wants to be...
Of course.
It's
because then everybody will see through.
It's not going to go well, and most artists will reject that anyway. So it's really taking the time to figure out who you want to be in this space, and represent yourself, of course, physically, and then the skills. Decide for yourself. Do I need to learn to speak a little bit better? Gather insight from the people around you, your community that says, Hannah is a little rough. Yes, throwing the bad words that they have to bleep out too much, right? You can't go on people on MTV or the program and say that. What do you want that to be? For sure. If you really think you want to be polished, extra polished, then seek out an official course, I would recommend. Something that gets you prepared for using your voice. I think singers have it easier than a lot of other creatives because we already, and I say we, growing up singing, it's just you learn how to use your breath. You learn how to have a sense of stage presence and adjust your tone, and so you can speak pianissimo or you can speak fortissimo, and you can get that projection going. For sure. I think in the other elements of creativity, the actual artists, the visual artists, the ones who may not need to do much speaking, right? They're the ones that may struggle with reconciling the two. And being able to build that skill, it may be something as simple as an art gallery opening, and you're showcasing your work, right?
You also have to engage with the people that attend.
You have to engage. How are you going to engage? Are you going to hide in the corner because that really might be your default setting, but what if you didn't hide in the corner and you were able to stand and be confident in what you say and how you say it? Someone might come and click a picture for a newspaper article and ask a couple of questions. How ready are you to be correct is right?
It's interesting that you said that because I had another thought, and they kind of come together in that media projects are just as collaborative as artistic projects.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We're two hosts, we have a guest, we have to kind of know, okay, How much do we highlight the guests, make the guests look good? If it's a serious interview, current events, how much do we try to hold the guest accountable, right, without attacking them, because then there's a whole set of implications on that, right? And it's similar with art, and I do find it interesting that to some extent, like I have this thing where just about every professional probably should do a management course, whether you're a dentist, doctor, right?
That's the other side, yeah.
Every artist and potentially every manager should to some extent look into communication, because even if it's just your own art, like at some point, if you're a musician, the better you are communicating and so that you could collaborate with other musicians, the more you could do. Yeah. I am a struggling artist that no one understands me and I don't know how to speak to anybody. Well, then you have to be the best soloist in the world, right? Or painter or sculptor or whatever. Because the best, most eccentric sculptor that does all kind of crazy, interesting things that will attract attention just off of the basis of his work. Yeah, he or she could get away with that. Yeah. But that's like, there's one of those in the world in every generation. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's the other side. So the getting media ready extends and can overlap to so many other things. So leadership qualities or management qualities, time management, right? It's a beautiful laissez-faire kind of space with creatives, and that's what helps that's what fuels the work as well. And so it's sacred space, but how then does that impact the whole? How does that impact if you commit to showing up for something, or whether it's your own presentation or whatever the case is? What does that look like? And you really, I think, I could sit here and we could talk till the cows come home. How willing are you to look at yourself and your not so great areas? That's part of being media ready. And then how brave are you? How courageous are you to speak with the people closest to you to be like, hey, now, what you think I could do? Because somebody may say, no, you're a complete diva and working with you is hard and it's only because you're talented that I'm choosing to work with you. Outside of that, nah.
Yeah. But then also, could it be that, like, to get these skills, because for me, a lot of it is just because I had somehow lucky enough to get enough experience in various different ways to kind of get me a starting ground, and then to get enough experience doing the job and not failing immediately, right? At least not catastrophically, that I could get enough experience. So wherever I've reached, like,
of course,
right, it helped me because I could see where I'm not the same person in front of a camera that I was when I started.
Of course.
Like at some point, but the reason why I had the opportunity to do that was because I was willing to take the plunge. The first show I did by myself, it was the second show I did for Harvey Boris, and he was like, I'm in Senate, you could just do the show for me. The plan was I would do the show with him, right? Like I've been on TV maybe 2 times before, then did half an hour with him, and then he's like, yeah, you could just do the whole show for me. And I'm just like, sure.
We all have that plunge moment. I remember very vividly my first day in radio. I was getting ready to come in, and my co-host was the actual host of the show, and I was just like, I'm just happy to be in the background. And I walk in the studio, and he goes, well, yeah, I have a meeting, so you're behind the board.
Wow.
I got this. I'm not going to let down the listeners of Trinidad and Tobago on, the best radio station ever to just be like,
fumble.
I can't panic. Are you mad?
You have no choice at that point.
At this point, the plunge.
I was told, just keep going until you can't go no more. No. Like that was the advice that I got when I was like, I don't know, if I could do this. And was it kind of similar to you? It was like, listen, if I fail, it's not because I'm afraid.
I am very stubborn. I set high standards for myself.
Okay.
So at that moment, it was the rush of all of the homework and all of the moments up until that point.
You just came and you had to recall it
I was
immediately.
Like, listen, brain, today is not the day for you to be on vacation on a beach. I need you here now, getting ready to press these buttons. Listen, press those buttons. And this is the moment. Right. But again, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I think prep doesn't have to be an official class. Prep could just be the social media that you pay attention to. Curate your social media and practice with it. Follow the personalities and the accounts that are the exemplars for what you're hoping to achieve.
Yes, I realize I have a lot of experience watching talk television. Most of it, ironically, sports. That is what I draw from with formats and planning and arranging and presentation style. Did you have a similar experience? Did you look at, okay, with regards to radio, any sort of public speaking like this? These are the examples, because the examples I kind of, that's my North Star that I look to, right? I don't copy them.
Nope, and that is exactly what it was. So you sit in the space and you just, you're forever learning. I'm forever learning. I choose to forever learn.
Take it in.
Exactly. So looking at the local presenters, the local radio presenters, the local TV presenters that would have been inspiring to me, people like Golda Lee Bruce. You know, she's news, but she was also media and TV. And then in the radio space, amazing hosts, Just Jace, you know, the old school people, turning radio to 97.1, because that old format, in a sense, is legacy and legendary and traditional. And it's to this day, it's really the North Star, as you put it. And then bit by bit, paying attention, okay, whose style do I like? What kind of talk style might I be interested in to be able to, as you said, it's not mimic, but you learn from them. We all grew up watching Oprah, come on. You know?
And this is when you know someone is putting real thought into this. When a radio host is like, yes, I am taking cues from Oprah. That is a whole different medium. That is potentially a whole different style of product.
Well, that was my experience, because growing up, like I said, Oprah, Dr. Phil, anything with Barbara Walters on it. It was on the
Barbara, I got goosebumps. Barbara Walters.
It was on the television. Like, I didn't put it on, my mom was watching it, so I just used to take it in. But then as I got older, I realized, wait, no, this actually takes a lot of work behind the scenes. So then I started watching a lot of daytime talk, like those panels, like The View, The Real Talk, all of those things, and then the late night shows. And I'm like, oh, this is how it works. And then I used to compare it to some of the stuff that we had, which was really done really well, but there was always that thing that, oh, it could have, if they just had this, it would have taken it over the edge.
Another element.
Exactly.
Because there are some shows that there was a lot of dead space between the conversations. I'm like, in my, like, as a child, I was just like, why don't we look like them?
Look at you. You were born for this space, for sure.
85%.
You were born
I'm telling you.
And so, the staying ready so you don't have to get ready is as small as exactly that, and as big as the investment in getting the skills, the makeup, the media, the training. Get a PR person. Because if you collaborate or you partner with someone who's already in communications and PR, maybe you can decide, all right, for the next X months, number of months, I'm going to let this person be my spokesperson. But do I want to learn from them?
Yes. Well, I'll my last point will be this. On that note, get ready, right? Before this show, we had a boy on my show, and I wanted him for more. I wanted him for a lot more than just arts and culture. But he just like, I could have a space to talk about arts and culture on your show, right? So I was just like,
comfort.
Sure, yeah. You know, and in my mind, I'm like, we ain't limited just to that, buddy.
He was plotting and planning.
And here you are.
So, you know,
and here you are.
You could say that maybe it was more than 15%.
Of course. And by the way, just as we wrap up, this happens, that's why I always advocate for creatives to go to university, because all of these things prepare you, because when you're in your different ensembles, there's a lot of collaboration happening. There's a lot of inter-units, so like the music unit working with the dance unit, working with the theater unit and the visual arts unit. All of those things come together, and then you experience those plunges, because all of a sudden your lecture is like, can you just run this rehearsal for me? I'm like, whoa.
Okay, hold on. I have a problem. I have a couple of friends, not all of my friends, just one or two, where I'm like, you all need to stop judging other people by what you all have accomplished, right?
So I think, you know, that's where the dynamic is. I think in TNT and the Caribbean at large, we have artists that may never have been exposed and had the opportunity to do that and to get that exposure, that experience. Okay, I can't do university, it just was not my path, but I have all of this. Okay, volunteer, right? Find the opportunities to immerse yourself in these spaces so that you can get ready.
You could even join like a university ensemble because they're open to
But my thing is the kind of responsibilities people will give him are not the kind of responsibilities they will give people his age at the time, right?
Of course not.
That's just the skills and talents, you know?
I would agree, and
there you go.
and that's where it's everything is on a range. Everything is on a range. There's going to be the Mark Anthony's of the world, right? And then there are going to be the folks that really didn't. And I think that as we speak to the folks that maybe didn't or don't know, these are some of the opportunities and the conversations around it. It's never too late.
And hopefully the greats of the world can do their part in helping them.
Absolutely. Giving back is the most important piece.
Because no one arrived here on their own.
Yeah.
So this whole concept of being self-made, I've always had an issue with it because we've all had help on some level.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And at the beginning, before the show started, I was like, time is running really slowly. And as we said,
now
it's just gone.
No,
so we do need to wrap up. Kemba,
we're
thank
over
you.
time.
We're over time. Kemba, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And you may be back soon. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. So
great.
I'm so happy you had fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Trinidad and Tobago, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.